Welcome back to the Referral Networking Show. I'm Lee Johnson of Networking Pro, and please visit our site. You can find the link in the description. So, time. As a business owner, you probably find that you keep running out of time. Or you think you've got a lot of time, but you just don't seem to get everything done. So let's talk about time management. Now, time management is about organizing your time so that you work smarter and don't waste any of it. Without time management, you will probably find yourself getting to the end of the day and wondering what you actually accomplished. Sure, you may have your head stuck into a particular project for hours on end and you feel a great sense of accomplishment, but generally you find that you don't get a lot done, especially when you have to spread your time between many things. There are many ways to manage your time, so I suggest trying a few of them, if not all of them, to find the one that works best for you. The two methods are, of course, physical and digital. With physical time management, you would be keeping a journal of sorts, and with digital, you would be using your computer or your mobile, probably using an app of some sort. So, begin by asking yourself if you like to keep a physical journal and write with a pen, or if you prefer to use your phone for everything. If you walk around with a diary and jot down notes and appointments throughout the day, then maybe a physical journal would be your best bet. But if you put all of your appointments and notes into apps on your mobile, then try using an app for your time management. It's about using the medium that works best for you, what you use most of the time and what makes you comfortable. Otherwise, you won't keep doing it. When it comes to mobile apps, there are a lot out there. Personally, I like Google Calendar. And I'll speak about that in a moment. I'm going to go through time blocking. But if you prefer to keep a journal, then you can still use time blocking, but you may also want to look at using a bullet journal. And there are tons of information on the internet about bullet journaling. It's probably been one of the biggest crazes for quite a while now. So try one, try two, try them all, as long as you find the one that resonates with you. So I guess the question is, why should we be managing our time as business owners? It may seem obvious, but it's not always that obvious. What usually happens is that you start something, maybe it's posting to your social media accounts. You end up getting sidetracked because whilst you're doing that, you saw one of your friends' posts. That led you to read through that, which sparked a thought of something you wanted to research. Whilst researching that, someone emails you, a notification pops up, so you have to read it. The email was a waste of time, really, just someone informing you that they have looked at whatever you sent through and they will get back to you. Now, you are thinking another cup of coffee would be good. So you go to the kitchen, you put the kettle on. When you get back to your desk, you remember that you should have phoned someone about something, and you go looking for the number. You get distracted by another email and spend the next 10 minutes replying. By this time, you have forgotten to phone the person you intended to phone, and you have one social media post and an hour has gone by. Sound familiar? This is what happens day in and day out. There is no discipline, there is no clear path or action. Time management is about organizing your time effectively and focusing on specific tasks for specific time periods and blocking out all distractions. Apart from the obvious, those being actually accomplishing stuff and feeling good about your workday, good time management also reduces stress, and we all know why that is good. If you haven't heard about it, stress is a huge killer in our modern society. The more stress you have, the less you sleep, which creates more stress, which causes you to sleep less, and so the circle goes on and on and on. Actually, if you haven't heard about stress, then you may be a time traveler from the distant past, in which case I hope you know about time management. And the crowd goes wild. Stupid jokes, I know. Sorry, I need to work on my jokes. Yes. But Once you start to manage your time properly, you will also notice that you have more time. This allows you to spend time on the things you want to do more of and opens your world up to a whole load of new opportunities. You know that I know that I've spent days just working, and when I look back, I really didn't get much done, and I felt like I was working the whole day. At the same time, I never got to take a nap, read a book, go for a walk, exercise, take a new project a step further, or anything but just work. And I say work in inverted commas. As soon as I started to manage my time, I had more time to do those things. Generally, you just feel better. You feel more organized, more productive, and this means you continue to be more productive. So let's have a look at time blocking, or the time blocking method. If you haven't heard of time blocking, then I'm actually very happy because I get to explain it to you. But it seems everyone is talking about it at the moment. So I just want to put my 2 cents worth in. Time blocking is essentially blocking out time for certain things during your day. The blocks of time are often segmented into half-hour blocks, although some people do tend to work with 5-minute intervals, which I think is a bit too much. But you need to play around with this and just find what works for you. I use half-hour intervals, and that works brilliant for me. So when you first start with time blocking, the best approach is to record everything that you do during the day rather than assigning tasks. Do that for a week or two, and you get to know your general schedule and how much time each thing takes. If you just start scheduling, then you find that you may assign an hour for a particular task, only to find that in reality it takes an hour and a half. That's why you record everything you do, and then you can sort through it and get a better idea of how much time to assign to each thing. You should also record other things besides just work. For instance, you may get up at 6 a.m., take a half hour walk, and then get a cup of coffee. Then you hop in the shower for half an hour, get ready for half an hour, as in shave, do your hair, get dressed, whatever it may be, and then maybe get breakfast. Block all of that time out. Block out the time you take for lunch, the time you read during the day, meditate, exercise. All of it needs to be blocked out and assigned. If you have ever watched Dan Locke's YouTube channel, you may have come across his mention of his scheduling. He time blocks every 5 minutes, and if his wife wants a night out, it goes into the diary, and the time is blocked out. They actually have a shared diary, so she can see when he has time free, and can then block out time for dinner or a movie. And he has no say in the matter. She's the boss. I must admit, I'm a bit looser than that, but it still works well for me. With time, the type of work that I do sometimes means I have a client needing something urgent in the afternoon, which was completely unexpected, and may take 2 or 3 hours. As that comes up, I have to adjust my calendar and block it out. If it overlaps something else, such as lunch or reading time, I will either still take those breaks and carry on afterwards, or just move them to a different position for the day. You definitely need to work with your own schedule and the type of day you have. To do time blocking, you can either use a notebook and pen, or a diary, or you can go digital. I've found that using Google Calendar works best for me. It's easy to block out time, you can color coordinate the blocks, and it syncs to my mobile, which I always have with me. So if I need to add or change something when I'm not on my PC, I can do that. So apart from the visual aspect of Google Calendar, you can also add recurring events. So adding the breakfast time means you can set it to be recurring, and it will add it to all of the days. So it just makes life easier and simple rather than doing it, each and every day. What is also great, just as an example, you have set your exercise time in the afternoon, but find that a morning session works better for you. You can just drag and drop the event to a different time slot. With my own calendar, what I do is I have general events that I block out for the coming week. This is simply how I like to arrange my time. However, instead of stating I will be working on project XYZ on such a day at such a time, I can fill in those details as I go. So when I get an urgent project that needs my sudden attention, I can slot it into one of the client work blocks. I just generally call it client work blocks. If I need to attend a meeting, I can also add that and overlap it with other time blocks. We can't dedicate exactly how our day, we can't dictate exactly how our day will go. Things happen, things come up, things need sudden attention that we were not counting on before or weren't even on our radar to begin with. If these things didn't happen and we just did exactly the same thing at exactly the same time, I think life would get a bit dull. However, what we need to do, regardless of what unexpected things may pop up during our day, is stick to the time blocking and time management as best we can. Otherwise, we end up all over the place and procrastinating into our coffee mugs all over again. But more on that just now. So, how do we prioritize? To begin with, you can do this on a daily or weekly basis. My suggestion is to sit down on a Sunday evening and list all of the things that you need to get done for the coming week. Once you have the list, you can prioritize them and then assign them to blocks in your Google Calendar. Once you have all of the items listed, give them a priority category from A to D or 1 to 4. If you're using A to D, then you would be doing the following. A would be things that are vitally important and need to be done as soon as possible. These would likely be things like meetings, presentations, anything that would have serious consequences if they are not done on time. B would then be items that can be moved to the next day without severe repercussions. They're still important, but something more important can take their place. These items would then likely become A category the next day. However, don't just move them because you are procrastinating. They only get moved if you have too many category A items in your day. Then C are items that can be assigned or delegated to someone else to complete. For example, picking up the kids when your partner or spouse is available to do it for you. And then finally, D is just simply delete. These items are not worth doing or looking at. They pose no threat to your life or your time, and all they are doing is taking up space that can be given to something else more important. Of course, we also have times when everything seems important, and after making your list, you seem to be putting A next to everything. At such times, you need to determine if the item is urgent or important. Urgent items need to be done first, followed by important. If it can only be done now or first thing in the morning, then that gets priority. Once you have determined the urgent items, then have a look at the important ones and determine which bring the most value to you and your business. You can also look at how long each task will take you. If, for instance, you have 2 important tasks, both given equal value, then one of them may take 15 minutes to complete, whilst the other could be a 2-hour job. Do the quickest one first, as that gives you a sense of accomplishment, and you will be more motivated to do the second one. So let's have a look at using the 4 Ds, as they're called. It's similar to what I just mentioned with the categories, but you can also use the 4 Ds. These are delete, delegate, delay, do. So take a task and ask yourself if you can delete it. If you can't delete it, then delegate it. If you can't delegate it, then delay it. If you can't delay it, then just do it. You'll probably see the 4 Ds in a different order on different blogs, but this is the way I like to order them. So let's have a look at delete it first. When you have a look at your task, is it a category D task? If it is, then you can simply remove it from your list. If it isn't, then you need to do something about it. So ask yourself if you can delegate it. You now have your task, which you have to get done somehow. So the next step is to ask yourself if you can delegate it to someone else. If you can, then it would become a category C task. If you can't delegate it because it happens to be a task that needs to be completed by you, then you can, or can you, delay it. If you can delay it to another day, then it will go into category B. You can put it off without any dire repercussions. However, if it is really important or urgent, then you simply have to do it. So you just Nike, as they say. So, as you've probably noticed, the 4 Ds are the reverse of the categories. You can use the 4 Ds to determine which category a task needs to go in. It's as simple as that. Now, also make sure that you take breaks. Scheduling breaks is extremely important. Yes, you need to get your work done, but if all you are doing is working, then you will find yourself getting burnt out. You will obviously need to decide what those breaks consist of. They may be reading, meditation, just sitting quietly outdoors, taking a walk, or if you're doing polyphasic sleep, then you need to schedule naps. No matter what it is, you need to keep yourself and your mind active and alert. And if that means you need a siesta, then schedule in that nap. Productivity, after all, is the main goal. So, with time management, you unfortunately have to become disciplined. And you have to stick to the time management. Most difficult part of it, of this whole time management stuff, is actually staying disciplined. If you have scheduled a task, then you need to do it. If the task you are busy with is a category A, that is, for instance, it's urgent and must be done, and someone comes along and asks you to do something else, then learn to say no. Even if a task isn't urgent, such as half an hour of reading, you still need to be strict with your schedule. If you don't take proper breaks, you won't be alert, which means you won't be productive, and that often leads to procrastination, or spending hours on something and not really seeing any results. It's the results that make the big difference. Once you start to see them, it will motivate you, and that motivation will cause you to continue with your time management plan, whether it be time blocking or some other method. You will then find that instead of getting to the end of the week and feeling like you didn't really accomplish much, you will look back and feel a sense of pride with what you managed to achieve. And that's my take on time management and time blocking. And I'd just like to remind you that every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central African time, I am doing a live event on Facebook. So tune into our Facebook page. It's at NWP Holdings. And yeah, come along and have a chat with me, and we can see what other topics you'd love to talk about. And we are also running a special, end of year special on the website. So if you sign up for a annual level 3 membership, you will get an additional 10% off, 10% off. Which essentially means that you actually get 3 months free. So if you want to secure 2020 for your business and get a jump start, we all know that the beginning of the year is extremely difficult for businesses and most people. So we're giving this discount so you can get the first 3 months over with for free, and you have a group of people who have got your back. They'll support you, and you can get some referral networking done and try and get some early business into the year. And that's me for this week. I'll chat again next week. Thanks for tuning in.